The invincible fleet, the galaxy knew their name. For generations, their fleet had burned across the stars like a storm no one could stop. World after world fell before them. Cities were reduced to ruins, skies turned red with fire, and whole species bent their knees in fear. They were more than soldiers. They were hunters, proud of every victory they carved into history. 164 times they went to war. 164 times they walked away unbeaten. Their record was perfect. To them, defeat was not possible. They had faced empires older than themselves, armies larger than their own, and weapons built with technology that once seemed like magic. None of it mattered. The invincible fleet always stood at the end, their enemies erased from the galaxy. Their commanders carried themselves like gods. They did not fight battles, they collected them. They wore their victories like jewels, like medals carved from the bones of the conquered. And yet, beneath all the pride, something hollow had begun to grow. Winning was no longer enough. They wanted more. They wanted something that would remind the galaxy why they should always be feared. That was when their eyes turned to Earth. Earth was not the richest planet. It was not the most advanced. To most galactic powers, Earth was a small, noisy world of humans who barely reached the edge of space. But whispers had spread, strange stories, fragments of warnings that were never taken seriously. Some said Earth was dangerous in ways no one understood. Some said explorers who went too close never returned. The invincible fleet laughed at those stories. To them, Earth was perfect for their next triumph. If they crushed Earth, the message would be clear. Even the mysterious blue planet, even its bold humans, could not stand against them. Their name would live forever, tied to one last unforgettable victory. When the order was given, the fleet moved like a shadow swallowing the stars. Thousands of ships crossed the void, their black hulls shining in the light of distant suns. They traveled in silence, confident, calm. They carried weapons that had broken empires, shields that had stopped suns, engines that tore through space like knives through water. No force in the galaxy had ever defeated them, and they believed Earth would be no different. But Earth was different. As the planet appeared on their view screens, the commanders felt something strange. The world looked small, harmless. Blue oceans shimmered under white clouds. Continents glowed with the light of cities. Human radio signals, weak and messy, spread out like the buzzing of insects. By every measure, this was a young, unprepared world. Easy prey. Yet something about Earth's silence unsettled them. The fleet expected panic, desperate messages begging for peace or threats of resistance. Instead, there was nothing. No world leaders calling out. No fleets gathering to defend the planet. Just silence, calm and heavy, like the stillness before a storm. Inside the command ship, the High Commander stood before the gathered captains. His armor glowed with symbols of past victories. His voice was cold and sharp. "This world will not resist," he said. "We will take it in days. The galaxy will watch, and the memory of Earth will be added to our record. 165 victories. That is what awaits us." The captains bowed their heads, though some felt unease. Silence was not natural. Every world they had ever invaded screamed, begged, or fought. But Earth offered nothing. And for the first time in centuries, a shadow of doubt entered their thoughts. The first ships moved closer. Scouts slipped into orbit, mapping the planet, recording its oceans and mountains, tracing the energy of its cities. To the fleet's surprise, there were no defenses waiting in space. No orbital cannons, no hidden fleets, no traps. Earth looked unprotected, fragile. The invincible fleet laughed again, their pride swallowing the strange sense of unease. But in the silence, something waited. The humans on Earth did not send messages, but they watched, deep under oceans, inside mountains, and in hidden stations that never broadcast their signals. Eyes followed every alien move. Humanity did not panic. Humanity prepared. The invincible fleet did not know it yet, but their long chain of victories was about to break. The High Commander raised his hand, and across thousands of ships the order spread, prepare for conquest. Weapons armed, engines roared. Soldiers sharpened their blades, ready to carve Earth into their next trophy. Yet still, Earth gave no reply. The planet remained calm, turning slowly under the black sea of space. Its blue oceans glimmered, its continents glowed, but no fear, no cry of surrender came. It was as if the planet was waiting for them. For a fleet that had never known fear, the silence was almost unbearable. Some captains whispered that the humans were foolish, blind to the storm about to fall on them. Others whispered that maybe Earth was not as weak as it looked. The High Commander silenced them with a glare. "We are the victors of 164 battles," he said. "We are the storm. We are the shadow. Tomorrow Earth will kneel." The fleet drifted closer, their massive shadows blotting out the stars above the planet. Thousands of warships hovered over the blue world, ready to strike. And still, silence, not a word, not a cry, not even a whisper. It was the kind of silence that did not mean weakness. It was the kind of silence that meant something was hidden, something deep and waiting. The fleet did not understand it, not yet, but soon they would, for in their arrogance, they had come to the only place in the galaxy where their endless victories meant nothing, and in the stillness above Earth, the invincible fleet had already stepped into their final war. First contact, the fleet moved into orbit like a black curtain stretched across the sky. From the ground, humans looked up and saw strange shadows pass before the stars. Some thought it was only clouds. Others knew it was not. For most of Earth, life continued as if nothing had changed. But in the halls of power, in secret bunkers and inside hidden stations, leaders watched in silence. They had expected this day. On the command ship, the High Commander gave the order. A signal was sent to Earth. It was not a request. It was a demand. "Surrender your world," the message said, broadcast in 100 human languages. "You will kneel or you will burn." The words echoed across Earth's airwaves. But no reply came. No leader answered. No frightened voice begged for mercy. No soldier raised a defiant challenge. There was only silence, deep and heavy. The aliens waited for minutes, then hours. Their pride began to boil into anger. To them, silence was insult. Silence meant defiance. "Send another warning," the High Commander said. His voice carried the weight of 164 victories. "Make them understand." The second message came sharper, colder, filled with threats. It promised the destruction of cities, the burning of oceans, the end of humanity itself. But again, the response was the same. Silence. The fleet's captains shifted uneasily. This was not how conquest began. In the past, enemies always cried out, always fought or begged. Silence was unnatural. It felt like a shadow moving over their hearts. To break it, scouts were sent into the atmosphere. Sleek ships glided down toward the blue oceans and green continents. They carried probes, drones, and machines that could scan every corner of the planet. The invincible fleet wanted maps, they wanted numbers, they wanted to see Earth's weakness with their own eyes. But the probes never reported back. The first vanished as it entered the thick clouds. The second disappeared over the dark oceans. The third went silent just above a glowing human city. One by one, the signals cut off. No wreckage, no distress calls, nothing. It was as if Earth had swallowed them whole. "Send more," the High Commander ordered. His voice cracked like a whip. Dozens more probes dropped into the skies of Earth. Again, silence. Not a single one returned. The fleet's data screens showed blank spaces where answers should have been. Confusion spread like a disease. "How is this possible?" one captain whispered. "We have conquered empires. We have torn apart planets with fire. Yet this world, this simple world, takes our machines as if they never existed." The High Commander's eyes burned with pride and anger. "It does not matter. We are stronger. We are many. Their tricks cannot hold against us, but even he could feel it now. The silence. The weight of something unseen." The fleet prepared the first strike. Warships aimed their weapons at the largest human cities. Energy gathered on their hulls, glowing like suns ready to fall from the sky. In seconds, the world below could be reduced to ash. "Fire," the High Commander commanded, but the weapons never reached Earth. Bright spears of energy shot toward the planet, but halfway down they simply vanished. No explosion, no resistance. They were gone, as if erased. The fleet tried again. More weapons fired. Again, nothing reached the ground. It was as if Earth's sky had swallowed the attacks whole. The silence grew heavier. In the war councils of the fleet, captains argued. Some claimed humans had technology greater than they showed. Others said Earth itself was alive, defending its children. A few even whispered words no one had spoken in centuries. Fear. The High Commander silenced them with rage. "This is only an illusion. They cannot stop us. Nothing can stop us." But the fleet's soldiers, who had known only victory, felt something they did not understand. Their hands trembled. Their hearts beat too fast. For the first time in their lives, they wondered if their commanders were wrong. Below, on the planet's surface, humanity watched quietly. Satellites hidden in the dark recorded every alien move. Deep inside mountain bunkers, human commanders exchanged calm words. They were not surprised that the invaders had come. They had always known the day would arrive. But unlike the aliens, humans did not fear silence. They used it. The alien fleet tried again, sending waves of smaller ships into the atmosphere. Fighters dove through clouds ready to test Earth's defenses with fire. But like the probes before them, they too vanished. Not destroyed. Not shot down. Simply gone. The High Commander clenched his fists. The silence pressed against him, against the fleet, against the very walls of their ships. Every attempt to break Earth only deepened it, and still the humans never replied. The aliens had demanded surrender. They had threatened destruction. They had shown their strength. But Earth gave no answer. No fear. No cry for peace. It was a silence that mocked them. A silence that waited. The invincible fleet, undefeated in 164 wars, now hovered above a planet they could not touch. Their pride told them it was impossible. Their eyes told them it was happening, and somewhere deep inside their hearts whispered a truth none of them wanted to hear. Earth was not weak. Earth was not prey. Earth was something else. And soon, the invincible fleet would discover what that meant. The silent defense. The fleet hung over Earth like a shadow that would not pass. Their warships filled the skies with metal, fire, and pride. For centuries, they had been the storm that broke worlds. But now, for the first time, the storm was quiet. The silence from Earth had grown into something the invaders could not understand. It was not weakness. It was not surrender. It was waiting. And waiting was more terrifying than war. Inside the flagship, the High Commander paced before the glowing maps of Earth. He had seen many planets die. He had ordered oceans burned, cities erased, and entire species forgotten. Yet no planet had ever resisted like this one, without even lifting a weapon. "Prepare the second wave," he said. His voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed his doubt. Dozens of heavy ships left the fleet, diving toward the planet. They carried firepower strong enough to break continents. Their engines roared as they pushed through the thin veil of clouds. But just like the probes and the fighters before them, they vanished. No explosion, no wreckage. 1 second they were there, the next they were gone, as if space itself had swallowed them. The silence deepened. Panic began to spread among the captains. These were veterans of 164 battles. They had seen death in every shape. They had fought enemies who used plasma storms, gravity weapons, and black hole bombs. But never had they seen this. An enemy that did not show itself, an enemy that did not fight but still erased their strength piece by piece. "What power hides here?" one captain asked, his voice trembling. Another whispered, "Perhaps this is no planet. Perhaps it is a trap, a grave built to swallow us." The High Commander silenced them, but even his voice carried less weight now. His fleet was disappearing, and he could not explain how. Pride alone could not hold them together forever. The alien soldiers inside the warships felt it too. They sharpened their blades, checked their rifles, and stood ready for war. Yet no orders came for battle. No enemy appeared before them. Only silence pressed against their ears as heavy as iron. Meanwhile, down on Earth, humanity waited. In secret bunkers, men and women watched the skies. They saw the alien ships vanish one by one. They spoke little, but their eyes told the story. This was not the first time Earth had been tested. History was full of invaders who had underestimated humans. None of them had lasted long, but this time it was different. The world itself seemed to rise in their defense. Deep below mountains, machines long hidden awoke. They did not glow or roar. They worked in silence, cloaked in shadows, answering only to those who had built them. Oceans stirred with currents too perfect to be natural. From the poles of the Earth, strange signals pulsed, unseen by human eyes but loud enough to blind the alien fleet's instruments. The invaders scanned the skies again, desperate to understand. But their sensors showed nothing, only emptiness. The humans remained invisible, yet somehow untouchable. The High Commander slammed his fist against the command table. "There is no force in this galaxy that can resist us. Not this world. Not these humans. Fire everything. I want this planet in ashes," and so the fleet obeyed. Hundreds of warships unleashed their weapons all at once. Beams of energy brighter than suns cut through the void. Missiles streaked like falling stars. Entire batteries of cannons lit up the dark sky. It was a storm unlike anything Earth had ever faced, yet nothing reached the ground. The energy beams faded halfway down, dissolving like smoke in the wind. The missiles never exploded. They simply vanished. The cannons roared, but their fire was eaten by the silence, leaving only shadows in the sky. The aliens stared in disbelief. Their most powerful strike, a storm that could erase planets, had done nothing. Earth stood untouched. Then something moved. The fleet's sensors screamed with warnings. Shadows appeared on the edges of their scanners, shapes that slipped in and out of sight. At first they looked like asteroids. Then they moved too fast. Some thought they were ships. Others said they were living things. Whatever they were everywhere, surrounding the fleet, pressing closer, silent as the grave. One warship screamed through the comms before it was cut off. "They are here." Then it vanished. The invincible fleet began to collapse. Captains shouted orders, but nothing worked. Weapons fired into the dark, hitting nothing. Shields cracked under unseen pressure. Whole squadrons disappeared without a single trace. The silence that had haunted them now showed its teeth. It was not emptiness. It was power. A power they could not fight. For the first time in their long history, the fleet knew fear. Soldiers who had laughed at death now shook in their armor. Captains who had sworn eternal victory felt dread in their bones. The high commander who had stood proud for centuries gripped the edge of his command chair, his jaw tight, his eyes wide. In the dark silence of space, Earth had answered. Not with words, not with armies, but with something far greater, something the galaxy had forgotten, something the invincible fleet had never faced. The high commander whispered words he had never spoken before. This is not possible, but it was, and the silence only deepened. The vanishing armada. The sky above Earth glowed with fire that was not fire, shadows that were not shadows. The invincible fleet, once the terror of the galaxy, now stood broken and afraid. They had fought 164 battles and they had never known defeat. But here, above this small blue world, they were not winning. They were vanishing. Warships disappeared without sound. One moment they drifted in formation, their black hulls gleaming. The next moment they were gone, like dust scattered in the wind. No wreckage, no flames, no signals, just silence. On the command ship, the high commander shouted orders, his voice echoing in panic. "Titan formation. Find the enemy!" But there was no enemy to see. The screen showed only darkness broken by the thin curve of Earth below. The shadows moved too fast, too strange, slipping beyond every sensor. Some of the captains believed the shapes were weapons. Others believed they were alive. No one agreed. No one understood. What they knew was this. Every shadow that passed meant another warship gone. Squadrons tried to fire blindly, filling the sky with beams of energy. Cannons thundered, missiles streaked, but nothing found its mark. The shadows did not fight back with fire. They did not answer with explosions. They simply swallowed the ships one by one without leaving a single trace. Fear spread like a poison. Soldiers who once stood with pride now gripped their weapons with shaking hands. They had fought countless battles, but never against an enemy they could not see, never against silence itself. A captain's voice crackled across the fleet before it was cut short. "They are inside the hull." Then static. Then nothing. Another ship gone. The high commander's pride began to crumble. He had ruled the stars through fear and fire. He had commanded victories that shaped empires. Yet here his power meant nothing. His hand hovered over the control panel, unsure, trembling for the first time. "Retreat," he whispered. The word was almost too soft to hear. He had never spoken it before. But his captains heard it. For a brief moment, hope flickered in their eyes. Perhaps if they left, if they fled this cursed world, they might survive. Engines roared to life. The fleet turned, pulling away from Earth's orbit. But the shadows followed. Faster, closer. One by one, retreating ships were taken. The shadows tore them from space as easily as a hand plucking stones from water. The fleet shrank smaller and smaller. Earth's secret, the stars were quiet again. The vast armada that had filled the skies above Earth was gone. Not destroyed. Not defeated. Gone. On Earth, life went on as if nothing had happened. Children walked to school. Farmers worked in their fields. Cities glowed with their usual noise and light. No one screamed. No one panicked. To the ordinary eye, the world had never been under siege. But in hidden places, deep under oceans, beneath mountains, and inside secret stations, humans watched the empty sky with calm eyes. They saw the invincible fleet vanish without leaving wreckage. They saw the silence return, and none of them were surprised. Human leaders met in shadowed rooms, their faces unreadable. They spoke no words of victory. They did not cheer. Instead, they marked the day quietly, as if checking off a box on a list they had prepared long ago. "It has begun again," one voice said. "Let the galaxy wonder," another replied. For the truth of Earth was not for outsiders to know. Across the galaxy, the disappearance of the fleet became legend overnight. Empires searched for answers. Explorers sent scouts to investigate, but none dared come too close. Rumors grew like wild vines. Some claimed Earth had hidden weapons from a forgotten age. Others swore the humans were not what they seemed, that their history was older than they admitted. One story spread faster than all the rest. Earth was cursed. Any who tried to conquer it would vanish just as the fleet had, and no one could prove otherwise because no one who entered Earth's shadow ever returned. In the great halls of alien rulers, the word Earth was spoken with fear. Armies that once dreamed of conquest crossed the name from their maps. Smugglers whispered warnings to each other. Never go near the blue world. The humans, however, said nothing. The truth was stranger than the galaxy could imagine. For hidden deep in Earth's history, buried under soil and sea, lay secrets even most humans did not know. Long before the fleet had come, long before humanity had built cities, something had chosen Earth. Something vast, silent, and patient. It did not show itself except when it had to. It had no need for glory or fame. Its only duty was to protect. Some humans believed it was an ancient defense system, built by their ancestors in a forgotten age. Others believed it was alive, a mind as old as the planet itself. Whatever it was, it had always been there, waiting in silence, hidden beneath the ordinary surface of the world. And when the fleet came, it had simply done what it always did. It erased the threat, quietly, without war, without noise. That was Earth's secret. Humanity was never truly alone. The galaxy never understood this. To them, humans looked weak. A young race. A small planet. But that was the mistake every invader made. The true power of Earth was never in its armies, never in its ships, never in its weapons. It was in the silence. The silence that swallowed enemies whole. The silence that waited, patient and unshaken, until arrogance walked into its trap. The invincible fleet had learned this too late. On Earth's surface, a child looked up at the stars, pointing at the empty sky. "They were here," he whispered to his mother. She only smiled and told him to come inside. The stars were calm again. Somewhere deep below, far beyond the reach of human eyes, the hidden power of Earth went quiet once more. Its task was complete. It would sleep until the next threat came. And one day it would, because the galaxy is vast and pride is endless. Another empire would rise, another fleet would march, and again they would see Earth as weak, small, and easy prey. But Earth would wait. It always waited. And when the silence fell again, the galaxy would remember. For those who attacked Earth did not die in glory. They did not leave behind wreckage or stories of battle. They simply vanished, erased from time as if they had never been. The galaxy would whisper forever about the place that swallowed empires. The place where the stars themselves seemed to fight for humanity. The place called Earth.